Welcome back to Bob and Jeff here on KFH Radio. We are excited to be joined by our next guest, Patton Oswalt. He is coming to Wichita. He'll be here on Saturday night at the Orpheum, a 7 p.m. show. Patton, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me on.
You bet. We're excited to have you on. I got to tell you, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the interview, I have two shows that I watch to soothe me, to kind of dry me out a little bit, to help me. And one of them's the Andy Griffith Show, and the other one is the King of Queens.
Oh, my God. That is amazing company to be in. The Andy Griffith Show rules.
Well, you're right
it
there
really
with
does.
him.
It's amazing how well that show has aged, especially the scenes where you can tell that they came in under time, and Andy and Don just went, we'll just riff something. Just roll the camera, we'll riff something together. And it's some of those scenes are so brilliant, where that has nothing to do with the plot. It's just those two guys goofing on each other.
Yep.
So, Patton, I don't mean to. Go ahead.
Remember the one where Don Knotts says, Barney Fife goes, I can recite the preamble to the Constitution.
Well, it's one of the funniest scenes in the history of comedy, yes.
It is so funny, and in the middle of it, Andy Griffith just starts laughing, just openly starts laughing, and they just went, just roll it. This is great. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's great.
It sounds like the Andy Griffith Show is one of those shows for you. Do you have any others that calm you down, that soothe you a little bit?
Yeah, oh, wow. Comfort food shows. Well, the two for me are MASH reruns. Even when it got a little cheesy near the end, it's still, for that, to me, that is such like comfort growing up. I just love watching those reruns. And also, I got to say, even though it's no, these are Columbo reruns. Columbo is absolute comfort food.
I love Columbo. Patton Oswalt with us. He'll be at the Orpheum coming up Saturday night for his stand-up show. And I got to say, I'm envious of you in some ways because you've been so brilliant in your career. But your agent has to be the busiest guy on the planet because you are doing everything all the time. When do you slow down?
I mean, it doesn't feel to me. Acting in things and doing stand-up, it never really felt like work. It's really, really fun to do. I get antsier when I'm relaxing and I'm not doing anything. I like creating something. Creating something to me is the equivalent of sitting and watching like the Andy Griffith Show or Columbo. It's comforting. It's actually comforting to be making something in the world. So in a weird way, that's my comfort.
I'm kind of interested in your voiceover on the Goldbergs. I've watched that show quite a bit over the years, and how do you go about that? How do you kind of capture a character that you may or may not be in the same room with that's younger? How do you go about portraying that part when you're off screen?
Well, I'm very lucky in that the writing on the show is so good in terms of the narration and in terms of capturing whatever each episode is about. Because what I love is each episode is about quote-unquote nostalgia and the good old days, and then they start picking it apart and they realize things were kind of a mess back then. And a lot of times when you look back at what you think are the good old days, what you're looking back on is when I was younger and healthier. But the times themselves weren't all that good. You know what I mean? And you just remember the good parts of it. So bringing that kind of energy to it makes it really easy for me.
Patton Oswalt, our guest. One of the things I've loved about following your career, and I've done it ever since you were in King of Queens, but you just show up on shows, and unexpectedly in some cases. You're not even very high up in the credits all the time. I don't know if that's by choice or demand or how that all works, but you just show up on a show and you make it better. And the two that I want to point out are Veep, which you added tremendously to, which is another hilarious show. And then Justified, which was just off the charts good and kind of out of character for you.
First off, the fact that you think I added anything to Veep is such a compliment because that whole cast, the ringers that were in that cast, you have Julia Louis-Dreyfus at the center of the hurricane, who's brilliant, but then everyone around her, Matt Walsh and Sam Rich. I mean, the fact that I could play on that level means a lot to me. So thank you. And then Justified, weirdly enough, Justified was, it was a bit of a departure in that it's, kind of action drama, but it's somebody, in a weird way, it's a comedic role in that I'm playing someone who takes himself very seriously and maybe isn't up to the job, although he finds out in a very horrible way that he's absolutely up for the job. He just, didn't realize he had it in him until the chips are down. So again, but that's Elmore Leonard writing. That's that writing staff on that show, and getting to act opposite people like Timothy Olyphant. It's just a joy. It's an absolute. It's the best.
Yeah, so over the past 6 months or a year or so, I guess it's we've lost several stalwarts: Norm Macdonald, Gilbert Gottfried, Louis Anderson, obviously Bob Saget. I'm just curious about what that does to the morale. I guess I don't know if that's the right word, but within the industry, because I know those circles are pretty small, and that you were part of those. Does that make you want to not do it for a while, or does that reinvigorate you because they loved it so much?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. You have to kind of check yourself. Obviously, when all of those four passed away, they all meant a lot to me personally, especially Gilbert, especially Louis Anderson. And so you have to, part of it when someone like that dies, I remember when Mitch Hedberg died, I was more angry than sad, and I realized I was angry because I was selfish. Oh my God, I'm not going to get to see any more Mitch Hedberg bits. And so I'm not going to get to see Norm do some brilliant conceptual thing. I'm not going to get to see Gilbert Gottfried go off. I'm not going to get to email with Gilbert about old movies like we did. So that kind of, there's a bit of selfishness because they are such inspirations to you. But in a weird way, it makes you want to do more comedy because what you see is, yes, they've died and it's horrible, but you see their influence in other people around you and you realize they're never really gone, especially people that are all that creative. Their stuff is never gone. So in a weird way, as sad as you are and as demoralized as you feel, you end up getting some hope out of it.
What did you think of Norm's last special? It's like on the way out, he kind of reinvents the genre a little bit, didn't he?
Of course he did, because that's the kind of stuff he does. He's just, he was always trying to mess around with the form. And of course, Norm is going to leave us posthumously with something that completely changes the way we think of watching stand-up. Of course he's going to do that. In a way, it's not surprising. I mean, it's startling to watch it, and it's invigorating to watch it, but it's also of course Norm's going to do something that brilliant.
Talking with Patton Oswalt. He will be in Wichita Saturday night at the Orpheum Theater, 7 o'clock. You've got a gig tomorrow night, actually, in Lawrence. So tell us about any background you have in Kansas. Are there any old stories you need to tell us from your days here, or are you fairly new to Kansas, Patton?
A million years ago, like the early 90s, it might have been 91, there used to be a club out in Wichita called Slapsticks, S-T-I-X, Slapsticks, and I did a week there in Wichita, and all I remember was after the show, one of the bartenders had a pet dog who was more wolf than dog, and this thing was so scary, and we went to his house to go drinking after the show and to get high, and this dog was sitting on the floor staring at me and the other two comedians, Blaine Capatch and Lord Corrett, and we were so paralyzed. And then the guy tried to reassure us. He goes, the only thing that'll make him attack you is if you show any fear. So just calm down and he'll be fine. So the fact that we now we actively can't show any fear, and the fact that we're also high and we're drunk, so now we're even more paranoid. It was the most tense evening. I basically spent a night in Wichita at a dude's house getting high with a wolf staring at me.
You've just described most Wichitans. Patton Oswalt is our guest.
Have wolves in their house?
Exactly. So my son and I debate a lot on this show, and the topics are varied. But one of the debates we have involves the King of Queens, actually, because I'm such a big fan, and I love the show, and I watch it. I've probably watched every episode 20 times, and you're so great in it. And my point to him is that show is as funny today to me, and that Kevin James is brilliant, and really everybody on the show is brilliant. His point is, and I paraphrase, he doesn't think it's held up as well. Where are you on the King of Queens, Patton?
Well, I can't speak to my own performance because that would feel weird, but Kevin James is one of the best comedic actors that's come along in a long, long time. The way that he reminds me, he's in that line of people like Jackie Gleason and Danny DeVito, who they are built a certain way, but then they move in a way that someone like that, who was built that way, shouldn't be able to move. He has a weird lightness and balance to him, even though he seems like he's this heavy-set guy. He has incredible moves and action to him. It's like the way that Danny DeVito is this little tiny 5-foot guy, but he seemed to just dominate the room. Like taller actors didn't know what to do with themselves around him. So he just, I think his performance is timeless.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. And there's so much stuff he does wordlessly. It doesn't have to do with dialogue. That's brilliant.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm just not as much of a fan, I guess, Patton, of physical comedy. That's just a personal taste thing.
No. Well, when
let him have it,
is
Patton.
done well, it's hard to pull off. I mean, yeah, when it's done badly, you know it. You're like, oh, good Lord. But when physical comedy is done really, really well, it's really hard to pull off.
And then your scenes with Jerry Stiller, just tell us about working with him, because that had to be one of the highlights of your entire career, I would expect.
I mean, it's Jerry Stiller. The guy is a friggin' legend. He was, and he was at this level, performance-wise. He would do this thing in scenes. He would stress random words that you normally wouldn't stress in a sentence, and so he could get a laugh with lines that weren't punchlines. The way he would walk in the room and he would go, "Hello, Douglas," and that would get a laugh, but it would almost throw off the rhythm of the scene because every single thing he said got a laugh. I've never seen anything like it, and it was all just this weird inflection that he had. It cracked me up. He was, and also just like the amount of history in him, like just to hang out with him and try not to. I would try not to bother him too much, but the guy used to hang out with Lenny Bruce, for God's sakes. Like he had stories out the wazoo. You couldn't believe it.
Real quick, Patton, how much do you subscribe to the theory that public regulation, I hesitate to call it cancel culture because I don't really like that term. Is that a threat to your profession? It seems like the people who complain about that the most are the ones saying the most offensive things. So where's the line between controversy and comedy right now?
It's an ever-shifting line. I mean, obviously you can't just cancel people out of context, and you can't put luminol on their past careers from 30 years ago because people will evolve and change. But at the same time, things do have to evolve and change. You can't just go, why can't I still make these jokes? Because the world changed. I mean, it used to be funny to do stuff it used to be acceptable to do stuff in blackface. And the world changed, and so you don't see people digging in their heels, going, "I'm doing blackface or because I'm a First Amendment warrior." It's like, no, you're just not evolving. So you've got to find the balance between context and evolution. And right now, because it's so new and because it's so slow, actually, it's not new. This cycle happens all the time. Happened during the '80s, happened during the '70s, happened during the '60s. It's happening now. You got to find the balance between context and evolution, but you've got to move forward.
Well, Patton, it's been a real treat to be able to talk to you. We're excited that you're coming to town. You'll be performing at the Orpheum on Saturday night. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, well, take care.
Talk to you soon.